So let's give a couple of minutes for everyone to just show up and, let's see what we get to today. I have no idea what I'm going to be talking about, as usual. Um, Spirit was like, show up, especially at this time, because usually my hello neighbors tend to be at a different hour of day. And I know that some of you actually would work better with this time zone, especially for those of you in Asia, some of you in Europe and Australia, which is a lot of the planet, and of course Africa, and which is a lot of the planet if you think about it. But in any case, so let's just give a couple of minutes for people to show up. Let's see who's here, and we can get started. Now, as you know, Hello Neighbor is a, I'm not going to call it a program because it's not, but Hello Neighbor is a series. I was inspired by someone whom I'm very inspired by, which is Mr. Fred Rogers. And there's actually a movie based on his life story in which he is portrayed by Tom Hanks. I watched it recently and I really enjoyed it. So, Fred Rogers was someone who really made it his life's mission to, how do I put it? To create a world in which it was safe and okay to be a child, and to treat people with the kind of respect and care and understanding that we are sorely missing and lacking in this world. So when I saw that, and to be honest, if you were to ask me who I would consider a saint, I'd say it's Fred Rogers. Some of his stuff was groundbreaking, like in a time where it was absolutely unthinkable. He actually, went on television and brought an African American guest to his program, and both of them sat together and shared the same little outdoor pool. Just put their feet in the water and that kind of thing. And that's touted as one of those moments where one really used that medium, used that format of children's television to really push to push that barrier to say, hey, we're all one. Hey, you treat other people like human beings, doesn't matter what color they are. And it's not just for that, but it is just the way that Fred Rogers was able to impart very profound lessons that that are still relevant to adults, and very much so in this time where everyone seems to be realizing just how fucked up their childhoods were. Now, obviously, I am no Fred Rogers, nor would I claim to be. Those of you who followed me from the beginning know that my style comes with a lot of truth, a lot of toughness, but also I'm very fair. And I guess in that sense, the Hello Neighbors are an aspirational space for me to perhaps even come close to creating that kind of space where people are seen, people are heard. No mollycoddling, because I don't do that. But where people can actually feel free to just have a human conversation. And that's the goal of Hello Neighbor. It's always been that. Once in a while I'll get someone trying to hijack it so that they make it about them or their particular point of view or their particular spiritual greatness, and at that point I'm like, phew. But that is a big difference between me and Fred Rogers, and also the difference between a TV program you can control versus a live production like this. So let's see who we got here. And let's do the hellos. Hello, Michi. Hello, Larray. Hello, Brandon. Peace and blessings to you as well. Hello, Candy. Hi, Jane. Hi, Adrienne. Hello, 3 of 5 Capricorn who's stopping in to say hi because it's their bedtime. Hello, Sandra. Hello, Serge. Hello, Joyce. Hello, Sharon. Hello, Dusana. I was thinking of you today. Hello, Davina. Hello, Celine. Lovely to see all of you. Some of you I know quite well. Yes, so I'm hoping that we'll also include some of the members of the community who are usually asleep at the time that the Hello Neighbors are done. Let's see who else we got here. Hello, Imbas. Nice to. Where are you from? That is a very interesting name. Hello, Anne. Nice to see you. But yes, I actually recognize most of you. What are you doing up? You should be asleep. But it's good to see all of you. Oh, hello, Jolene. And yeah, like I said, I'm not really sure what I'm going to talk about today. So I'm just going to like let it flow, let it flow, let it flow, and see what comes up. I can tell you by something that I am excited about. I finally, like, in terms of something I planted and not what the magic garden attracted to itself. because as you know, we have a bodhi, a bamboo, and a noni that suddenly just came out of nowhere. I don't see it in any other houses. They just came out of nowhere and started growing happily by themselves. um, Beyond that, like in terms of stuff that I planted, we're having our first flower, our first bloom. We've got a zinnia, and it's just unfurled its petals, so that's very exciting. So I'm going to be experimenting a little bit with microbes in the soil and, you know, healthy stuff. So to see if I can improve the quality of that. So I'm excited about that. Um, but let's see. Beyond that, mm, let's take a moment to talk about people, because I guess this is something that has been on my mind for a while. Like, one of the reasons why I do this work and not a whole bunch of other things that would be far less work, would make me a heck of a lot more money, and secure my life in the way that, as a Capricorn, I would, in a certain sense, have preferred it to be secured in the past. Now I wouldn't make the same decisions. But one of the reasons why I do this work is the people. In fact, I would say it's the main reason. I recall this one lady. I'm not going to mention her name for privacy, and she was contributing a little bit to me every month, and I was like thankful for it. And suddenly she wrote one day saying, I've been suffering from this severe illness. My disability check's been cut, and I can't give anymore. But I'm very thankful. I'm very grateful. I mean, she did what she could, right? And my instinct was how to help and so on and so forth, and I did what I could. But it's that kind of energy where there's so many people in different walks of life, and they're all going through very, very intense things. The people who are drawn to me tend not to be happy-go-lucky types. They tend to be people who either, through a series of lifetimes that are very, very intense, or maybe it's just this one that they're just, waking up to. They tend to be individuals who are usually on the very, very intense scale of the spectrum. They face insane challenges. They go through incredible hurdles and obstacles. And most of the people that I like the most, they tend to have a certain grace about them, grace under pressure. And a lot of them are not the showy types. They're not the showy types. They're not going to make a big song and dance about what they did. They just very quietly do their work, and they're constantly learning and constantly improving themselves. And I see a lot of people like that in my, I don't want to say following, but you know what I mean. In the people who are drawn to me, I see a lot of that again and again and again. And I can't tell you how inspiring it is to see people like that. It's not about that grandiosity. It's not about the martyrdom and that narrative of, oh God, I'm in pain. I'm this, I'm that. It's literally people just getting on with shit and facing incredible odds, reaching out when they need to, but most of the time taking responsibility for what they can and cannot do. And I find that very, very inspiring. That is the kind of model of adulthood that I think me, my brother, and I think a lot of people who are in their 30s are seriously wishing, God, could we not have seen that growing up? And I see that so often. And in this past, year and a half with COVID and whatnot, people have been really encouraged to find that self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency doesn't mean that you don't need help or you don't reach out. Self-sufficiency means that you take responsibility for your own stuff. What can you do? And have you given it your all to change what you need to change, or to learn what you need to learn, or to be what you need to be? And that is the kind of thing that sustains me. And I think to myself, oh dear God, why am I doing this? When I see something like that, that is an inspiration. So, it's interesting. It's interesting to see the people who come in, the people who go, the people who stay. And it's always, a revelation for me. And it's something that I wanted to acknowledge. Been wanting to acknowledge that for a few days now. But I'm just glad the work is out there, and I'm glad that it's reaching the right people. And I guess I just wanted to also say that. But if anyone has any questions like that are based to, if you want me to read your chart, book a session. But otherwise, if you've got any questions which I can answer, let me know. Oh, hey, hang on. We've got Tamalan as well, who's heading to bed, and hope all is well. So glad to see Bro the other day. I figured you would be. A lot of you, I think, like my brother more than you like me. Hello, Tamika. Nice to see you. So, yeah, that's what's been on my mind. People and the power of these gentle, incredible souls who very quietly transform the world. It's so performative these days, especially with Instagram and the way the visual media, visual format, catchphrases, looking the part is being oversold. But at the same time, the things that are really transforming the world, even in tiny, teeny ways, which lead up to large currents, they're happening in everyday acts of resistance, in everyday acts of affirmation, in everyday acts of self healing, in that willingness for someone who was struggling through so many things, just to do what little she can to help someone that she respected. And that counts a lot. That counts a lot for me. But that's what something I wanted to acknowledge of the community here. Anyway, we've got a question. Um, Jane asks, I was checking out the upcoming Black Moon Lilith conjunctions in Taurus. Okay, Jane, what about the conjunctions? Are you worried about them? Are you excited about them? Sandra says, hey, doctor, do you drink caffeine? Why do you ask? I'm curious now. Celine says, view, yes, performative. I have to watch my own performative tendencies. I appreciate your cappy realness. I try. I try. It's a good thing I'm not a drama queen. I mean, not to say I don't have my own drama, but you know what I mean. It's not that way. Let's see what we got here. Sandra D wants just says just wondering. Well, if there's a relevant reason, I don't mind talking about it. Otherwise, my privacy is my own. So, Anne says a question about your prayer of the other day of the new occult law. Can you shed light on that? Okay, that is a good question. So, let's see. New occult law is it's a very powerful phrase, and it was taught to me by a very powerful teacher, someone whom I've seen consistently over the years with the integrity of what it takes. One of those people does amazing work, very quiet, very in the background, but poof, just off the charts. And and he was explaining to me that many things have been shifted about in our reality so many times. There's just so much going on behind the scenes that most people have absolutely no awareness of. There are beings that are tasked to watch over this earth, and then there are beings that do the absolute opposite. New occult law is effectively a permission for people to no longer need to obey the logic of the old. And the logic of the old tends to be the logic of sacrifice. It tends to be the logic that diminishes the role of the individual in favor of that undifferentiated mass of the collective. And that's how you create heroes who often tend to be victims and martyrs and whatnot. But as we shift into new occult law, it allows each individual not only the power, but also tasks them with that sense of responsibility towards co creation. It's effectively the real version of what all of this new age stuff has been talking about. Except when you shift into that level of awareness and consciousness, a lot of those glamours pop, bubbles burst instantly. And people tend, what I've noticed, the moment someone actually moves into that level of awareness, they get a lot more humble in the sense that they're not projecting, they're not overextending, they're not, concocting stories and dreams in their head about how great they are and how they're the hidden avenger, whatever you want to call yourselves. It's just very, very humbling. And when you actually slide into new occult law, you realize that it tends to be what indigenous cultures from a very, very, very long time ago were saying anyway, except there is a differentiation in the power and importance given to things that hold old energies. For example, ancestors, for example, religious and spiritual guides, for example, angels. The relationship that you have with them changes. That would be the biggest difference. So the more a lot of people are on the right step towards it, especially people who work with affirmations and people who want to see themselves as co-creators with the divine. The problem is that the words are not matching what they do in their lives. So that's where a lot of work needs to be done. Um, let's see. Jane says she's very excited about the about the Black Moon Lilith conjunctions because she has Lilith conjunct Pluto in her chart. Well, um, mm-mm-mm. Well, I would say, if you've got those natal conjunctions, then you know what good Lilith can do and what not so good it can do. So it's a case of, making sure that you don't go into either extreme of what Black Moon Lilith can actually show you. Vivi says, hello, Dr. B. Hello, Vivi. How are you doing today? Abundance says, this proverb's been on their mind. March winds and April showers bring May flowers. Does it resonate with you? No, it does not. I have no idea what that refers to. I mean, obviously the proverb, but in this country, no. The weather pattern has been screwed up, and I don't think we have Mayflowers. 3 or 5 Capricorn. I thought you were going to bed. So VB says, I am better. Recovering has been 14 days now. Well, that's good. That's good. Take your time. Your body is probably going to be in some state of shock. Just take your time. Take your time. Abundance is a very English saying. I agree. I don't think it applies here. Okay, what else do we have going on? Are we just doing a general chill out? For those of you who have been following, I'll post interesting things that I find on my YouTube as well. So check out the Who, and not WHO, the Who, that's in the HU. The Who are a Mongolian folk metal band. They're awesome. They came to prominence about 2 years ago. Check them out if you really need to feel something in yourself, in your bones. So check out The Who, they're pretty good. The link's on my profile. I've also been listening to some really good Asian covers of popular songs. But again, check out the profile. Oh, here we go. Baby says, where do you think we are going in the world right now? At least here we are in lockdown. It's really saddening. I think we are going to a state of extreme polarization, and the polarization will be between people who realize the world is shit and needs changing, or rather, the way humans live is shit and needs changing, and people who are in denial and comfortable with the system as is. It's going to come down to this. So, even with coronavirus, I've been reading about it, and, looking at different perspectives that align with the way I see the world. And it's quite clear that what COVID has really, shown is that inequality has deepened. So it hasn't brought different groups of people together. It has actually just, you know, deepened the divisions and fissures that were already there. So I would like to tell you things are going to get better and magically everything is going to be fine, but I don't see that happening without a lot of upheavals, conflict, strife, and so on and so forth. And that's basically the truth of it. That's why I would say right now, for anyone who is in their right sense of mind, find a space where you can be for the next couple of years, ideally with family you love who respects you and isn't just leeching off of you. Same with friends or community, and in a way that you can actually weather the storm for the next few years because governments are only going to get crazier, especially when they realize how much power and how much money there can be made of a public health crisis, which is already happening now. you know Go back to that article that I did on the astrology of coronavirus and you'll get more information. V Stormfell, nice to see you. Says the working relationship they have with deity is more really like two really experienced forestry rangers working in crunch during fire season rather than god and devotee. Is that like new occult law? Part way. It all depends on the deity in question, what kinds of contracts are required, what kinds of offerings are required, if you're still working on the frequency of offerings or not. That would be, I would need more information to look at that, and I wouldn't want to say anything just based on that description alone. um let's see. Rusana says, feels like the planet is in labor and approaching transition. We're nowhere near crowning yet. Yeah, exactly. It's all a build up. Like I said in a previous video, this is a gap year, honey bunnies. This is a gap year. Shit is really going to hit when we see, the South Node entering Scorpio. So, whatever exploration, freedom, adventure you want to experience, yes, I know we're locked down with COVID, but do what you can because come December this year, we're going to be even more need of intensity and truth telling and transmutation and all of that stuff. It's also a very important year to build your health reserves up. Let's see. 305 Capricorn says so much volcanoes. I feel like Earth is uprooting herself. I agree. In fact, there was a new volcano formed, I think, not too long ago in Iceland. So that is quite interesting to me. Davina says, do you think that this year's Saturn Uranus square is a representation of those two groups of people just fighting over money at the moment, money and values? I'd say it goes a lot deeper than that, but I would say it's certainly one interpretation that would read very, very well. I mean, there's going to be one group of people that's holding on to an old way of earning, of thinking, of being, and a certain way of holding on to abundance in a way that makes it a zero-sum game. And then you're going to be having a lot of other people who are saying, actually, no, we can restructure things more sustainably. We can actually do things in a way where everybody benefits and no one is left worse off. So it's a clash of ideology, it's a clash of tools, it's a clash of systems. Now, sometimes it's hard to know who is playing which role. It's not a case of mapping Saturn bad guy, Uranus good guy, because sometimes you're also going to get people who are on the opposite poles of things. Sometimes they may be giving into highly technological, hyper intellectualized ways of engaging with reality that, again, don't work and limit or exclude most people. Sometimes the Saturn in Aquarius is the one that's actually going to be having the wisdom to see, okay, this is actually real tech or a new perspective that can help, and that is just groupthink bullshit. So you can't really, make the case of protagonist and antagonist with Saturn and Uranus that way. They both could be playing both roles. So it's, more contextual. Um, let's see what else we have here. Vivi says, I feel Western and Southeast countries are equipped better. Their governments at least care about their people. Your thoughts, please. Given what's going on in India, ooh, I understand your comment. And yeah, yeah, I completely agree. In the sense that there is a lot more value given to human life. There's a lot more value given to human life, and having lived in India for a few years, I can tell you that that value is not there. Part of it is because there's just so many people. Another part of it is because there is a I would like to say, someone who is, trained in political science, I would like to say that the evolution of political culture was very, very different in all of those countries. India did not develop its nation state and its polity on the basis of respecting individual rights. It was a mimicry of the British colonial system. But at the same time, even then, the ideas of independence were not to secure personal freedoms and civility. They were simply to say, this is our land, we have the right to govern it, not you people. So it was never really framed or contextualized in a way that meaningfully engaged with valuing each individual. Whereas the political culture of the other countries you mentioned is completely different. It comes from a fundamental idea that was never ever realized. And I think if I recall, there is an article by a man named Sunil Kilnani. I believe it's called The Idea of India or The Institution of India, and in which it is laid out very, very well. I mean, honestly, the best forms of governance come from the Panchayat Raj or the grassroots level of local order and local organization, but they are not being given the resources. So whatever is happening top down from the center is is reflective of that lack of valuing life. Let's see. Southeast Asia, yeah, the evolution of democracy was different in some of these countries. Singapore, Malaysia are very powerful examples where community rights actually had to take care of the individuals. If you were to anyway, I'm sorry, I'm going into a different thing. But effectively, the political culture of each of these countries are different, which is why their governments actually have a better standard of healthcare. India does not have that. Kavita says, hi, BB. Hi, Kavita, how are you? Marianne says, what are your thoughts about the required jab in the arm? If you can talk about it on your channel. I'm a nurse, I don't want to get it, but maybe forced to. Well, honestly, I am not someone who thinks that there's nanites in it. I'll be very clear about that. I know people were like, no, I'm not going to get it. There's nanites. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. But personally, as a woman of childbearing age who has an intention to have baby someday, I would not get it unless I was absolutely sure. And I know what my physical constitution is, and I also know my sensitivity to certain medications. So, for in that case, as a sensitive, I would avoid it unless I had absolutely no other choice. So, but that is my personal sensitivity. Some other people can take any medication and nothing happens to them. And absolutely nothing happens to them. So perhaps those individuals may be better equipped to receive that. But I mean, I noticed the other day I had to take some antibiotics or something. And unfortunately, the doctor that I went to was probably insane. And instead of giving me a regular antibiotic, gave me something that you actually use to kill anthrax. I didn't know. So I took this for 2 days and I'm thinking to myself, why do I feel weird? What is going on? And most of the time I looked at it. Most of the time I would like check beforehand, but I was in so much pain, I just didn't even think of it. And I realized, no, it's not. Oh God, no, I do not want that in my body. So yeah, for me, no, it's a definite no, just because I don't get along even with normal medication that you can get from a doctor. So that's my 2 cents. Let's see. Kavita says in quarantine. How to keep sense amid this chaos? Well, as a good question, truthfully, the world is always changing. I don't think there's ever been a time where things have been perfectly peaceful. There's always been someone saying, but this is changing and that's changing and that's not being done and this is not being done. There's always been a certain level of chaos, you know. Um, and I think the the thing is, we because humans have the ability for higher thought, and we can think in terms of conceptual categories. Our ability to conceptualize sometimes kicks us in the foot. So instead of looking at what is at the micro level in our daily lives right in front of us, we worry about a bigger picture that we can't fix. So, I would say it's one of the things that I am doing is to just stick with what is the reality right in front of me. What do I need to do every day to improve my relationship with that reality? And how do I do my work? And for me, work is a spiritual vocation, which I share aspects of from time to time with others. So just stick to your life, honey. Stick to your life. That doesn't mean you have to be selfish. It doesn't mean you have to ignore the suffering of the world. I spend a lot of my time reading and looking and understanding what is happening. It's not just about being in a bubble up your own butt. It is about just being able to take in that information and still have the will to say, this is what I'm going to do today. And this is what I'm going to focus on today. So remember what I was talking about earlier. People who face extreme stress, who face extreme pressure, who are taking care of themselves, but who can give and do and share what little they have in a way that's not cutting off their own nose. But just do what you can every day. And your belief that your individual decisions, your willingness not to give into fear, your willingness not to give into panic, your willingness not to succumb to those forces of chaos is acting as a beacon. Maybe it's not a person you're inspiring. Maybe some little ant somewhere feels very depressed about life and saw you and decided, nope, I'm going to carry that grain of sugar today no matter what I do. We don't know. So, just in your own life, keep that discipline, keep that practice, because there's not much that, we can we can do. See what I mean? Let's see. Celine says, okay, husband got the jab. Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, see, there's something. Like, I remember there was something online as well where a British scientist, I think, it was recorded, but then that was cut out of the interview afterwards. Either a British scientist or British interviewer, I can't remember the actual name, but they were interviewing this dude about the vaccine, and he's saying that it would have an effect on reproduction, and that was taken out. But thankfully, someone had recorded it and placed it back online. So I'm not at all surprised to hear the side effects. But like I said, in my situation, would not do it. Savita says alternative therapies and healing with natural herbs would work better without harming the human constitution. Normally, I'd agree with you, and as a general rule, that is what I would typically go for, unless this was something severe I couldn't do much about. But there's something very strange about this entire thing, and it's the rate of mutation. So, I would say, to be honest, herbs and alternative therapies need to be the baseline of managing health for anybody. But, we'll see if an actual solution can be found. Right now, they're racing to go and find some jab that's going to cover every variant or whatnot. And given what coronavirus has shown us, that's probably going to push it to evolve even more. So, hopefully it doesn't become a war of escalation. We'll see. Because I realized that, following the headlines here, um, there's members of the Ministry of Health here. They've had both shots, but they still got it. So I'm just like, yeah, no, there's no way I'm going to be putting myself through that risk of that, given my own sensitivity, especially if it's not going to guarantee that I'm not going to get it. But then again, I'm also fairly a hermit, in the sense that I basically sit and do my thing, and I'm very much a homebody wherever I choose to be. So to me, that makes sense. But people who interact with others, teachers, nurses, you may not have the luxury of that choice. Yeah. Let's see. Dusana says it's changing cycles and has shown to bring menses back to body that are postmenopausal or had cessation from HRT. It delayed mine. Yeah, it doesn't sound good to me. Savita says microorganisms are a step ahead of human intelligence. I would say human intelligence is an oxymoron. Um, human technology, maybe, but our technology is not exactly intelligent. I think it creates a lot more, or has created a lot more harm than good. But yes, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. And it's one of the reasons why I've been looking into happy microbes for my garden. um see what little fellows can help these little fellows grow. But those are my honest views, and I'm not trying to peddle anything, and I know that that vaccine may save some people, but yeah, there is, given my estimation of the costs and benefits, me, no. Mm-mm. There may be hale and hearty and Herculean fellows out there that have no issues with it. Great, go for it. But I can only do what's right for me. Um, yeah, and of course, if I'm not taking the vaccine, and if I have symptoms, which I don't, and if I interact or go into crowds, which I don't, and then suddenly go off and cough on everybody, then yeah, that's ridiculous. So if you are making that decision, just be even more mindful and aware of your body, and take responsibility for where you go. If you're going to make that decision, also take responsibility there. So let's see. What else do we have here? I think people liked my joke. It's true, though. It was true. Let's see. Let me think. Honestly, I'm not really sure what else to talk about. Do we have any other topics on the board? Otherwise, I can just chill out and rest, which is also good. Because I woke up this morning about 3 hours before my session, and I didn't realize why, but I was waking up with severe anxiety, and I kept seeing this place in my dreams, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And then I found out, oh, okay, it's my client. I was tuning in whilst I was asleep. So I probably could just go to bed. Let's see. Abundance says, I like your earrings. Thank you very much. Simple but classy. Um, mm, 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 mm. Okay, okay. So yeah, everyone's got to make their own choices with that. Marianne sends me a rose. Thank you. You're most welcome. But yeah, beyond that, just you know, try and be decent human beings. Take care of yourself. Don't be self-obsessed, and see what comes up. That's probably the best advice I can. So lots of love to everyone. Take care. Very, very many blessings, and yeah, ciao ciao for now. Bye.